Tendo checked his phone again, almost vibrating with excitement. No one could really blame him for that. After all, he was about to see his boyfriend face to face for the first time in several months of only video calls and texts, and he couldn't wait. He arrived in the airport hall unnecessarily early, too impatient to stay at home. The whole time, he kept staring at the arrival board, waiting for the plane from Tokyo to appear and land. Come on, it's taking its sweet time. His heart jumped the second the table told him Ushijima's flight landed. He immediately rushed further into the hall to welcome his boyfriend with all verve he had, making sure he didn't lose the little sign he made the day prior along the way. That would be a shame. Spotting the tall athlete wasn't a difficult task, as no one could match the almost noble aura he emitted, despite just getting off of more than half-day-long flight. He looked a bit weary, true, but he still didn't waver when Tendo threw himself into his arms. Toshi, I'm so glad you are here. Ushijima chuckled, the deep sound resonating all the way into Tendo's chest. Hello, Satori. I'm glad I'm here too. How was your flight, dear? No problems, I hope. No, it was just too long. But it's okay now that I'm here. Giggling, Tendo snuggled closer to him briefly before he reluctantly let go. I missed you. I missed you too. The distance is too much sometimes. But I have news for you. That piqued Tendo's interest. He tilted his head, gently pinching Ushijima's cheek as he watched him closely. Good news? I hope so. Then don't keep me waiting. What is it? A small, almost mischievous smile curled Ushijima's lips. It's a surprise. Let me get my bags and let's go home now. Tendo pouted. Oh, come on. You can't just leave me hanging like this. What is it? Ushijima just shook his head and entwined their fingers together, chasing warmth into Tendo's cheeks. You'll see. Fine. But it better be a grand surprise or I'll be really upset. He watched Ushijima diligently unpacking his bags, admiring his boyfriend's will to have everything neatly folded into piles, even though he had to be exhausted and jet-lagged. You know you can leave it for tomorrow, right? The clothes won't flee anywhere if you rest for today. Perhaps, but if I do it now, I'll have more time to focus on you. Tendo's heart melted. He couldn't understand how anyone could say Ushijima was cold and rude. Sure, his straightforward nature wasn't fit for everyone's tastes, but nothing Ushijima said came from a bad place, and those people had no idea what they were missing on. Though truth to be told, he was glad he was the one who got to know the real Ushijima. You are so sweet, Toshi, you know, but I would still like some time with you today. Ushijima paused with a pile of neatly folded clothes in his hands. Do you feel neglected? I'm sorry, that wasn't my intention. No, of course not. That's not why I said that. I just want you to rest after 14 hours on a plane. He got up and pushed Ushijima on the bed before straddling his thighs. Satori? I strictly forbid you from doing anything other than relaxing and cuddling me today. Ushijima blinked in confusion, but then relaxed and connected their lips, making Tendo melt completely in his arms. I missed you. I missed you too. I hate that we live so far from each other. About that. Tendo pulled away a bit, just enough to see into Ushijima's eyes, surprised to find his boyfriend looking almost nervous. He cupped his cheeks. What is it?
Well, I said I have news for you.
Right, I'm listening.
I didn't want to tell you over the phone, so I waited for when I arrive here. And I hope you'll be happy to hear it.
He hesitated before he reached for his backpack and pulled out a few papers.
I won't be playing for the Adlers anymore after this season.
Oh, that's surprising. I thought you liked that team.
I do. But Kageyama is moving on next season too, and I also got a new offer. From Poland.
He showed the papers to Tendo, who stayed staring at it with mouth agape, unable to speak for a moment. In his hands was a contract with Orsel Warsaw, signed and confirmed, telling Tendo distance wouldn't be an issue for long. Unable to hold back, he squealed and crushed Ushijima in a tight hug. Toshi, that's amazing! I'm so proud of you. See, I told you you are a miracle boy. My miracle boy. And Poland is just around the corner too. We won't have to spend the whole day on plane to see each other. Ushijima smiled, nuzzling into the crook of Tendo's neck.
I'm glad you are happy.
Of course I am. This is the best surprise ever. But now you totally can't unpack. We need to celebrate.
Alright, I'll be happy to.
Issei, are you distracting me on purpose or are you just getting really clingy today? Matsun tilted his head, giving Maki his best innocent look.
I have no idea what you are talking about.
Oh really? So you've been acting like an overgrown cat for the last hour. Why exactly? Pouting, Matsun moved from being draped over Maki's shoulders to sit on the couch next to him, but intentionally left a bit of space between them.
Can't I show you a bit more love sometimes? Or maybe I need some more love. And here you are, so cruel. I just want to be close to you and you are pushing me away like this.
He crossed his arms over his chest and turned his head away in an acted offense. It wasn't as bad as he made it out to be. He was glad for any sort of contact he could get, but his boyfriend was busy lately, and he wanted him to take a break for a while. And then there was the challenge. He had to admit Oikawa had a good idea with this one. Not that he would ever say it into his face. His ego was bloated enough already, and knowing him, he would just keep thinking of new challenges if he praised this one. Besides, it was usually Maki who sat on his lap, and Matsun really wanted to be held again. It made him feel smaller than he was, which was something he enjoyed a lot after spending days upon days towering above his client. And so here he was, trying to gently annoy Maki into stopping browsing the job ads and giving him some attention instead.
If you continue being like this, I won't talk to you again.
What a shame. He rolled his eyes, but a hint of smile playing in the corner of his mouth betrayed him. Guess I'll have to live with a silent household from now on.
You wouldn't last for more than half an hour.
And you wouldn't make it without talking for more than a day. I think we are pretty equal in this. Besides, you would get lonely. You both know that. Matsun smiled since Maki did hit the mark precisely. Working with mostly dead and grieving was an unsurprisingly quiet job, and he could go days without exchanging more than 10 words with other people if it wasn't for Maki. He wasn't sure if Maki did it intentionally or not, but he always talked his ear off when he returned home, for which he was indescribably grateful. Especially on the bad days when he couldn't bring himself to say anything himself. It made him feel alive again.
I could pull it off. For a few days at least. Sure you would. He looked up from the laptop screen, giving him a soft smile. But why would we torture you more than necessary? I'm always here for you to talk to, you know that, right? Even just as a friend, and we can talk for as long as you need. Matsun's heart swelled. Maki really knew him the best, with the sole exception of his sister, though he wouldn't be surprised if he actually could read his thoughts after the years they've spent together. However, their constantly growing bond also caused his nightmares to worsen over the years. The images that haunted him his entire life got much scarier since they moved in together, and after the events of the last months, he was sure he wouldn't survive silent household for more than a few hours. He say? He snapped out of his thoughts, forcing a smile. It's fine. I was just thinking. Maki sighed and grabbed Matsun's hand, tugging him closer to his side. Matsun let himself be led, laying his head on Maki's lap and looking up to face him. A pleasant shiver ran through his body when Maki ran his fingers through his hair, his eyes closing in bliss. I think this is good enough for the challenge. You fell right into my trap, you know. Now I'm not letting you go. Maki shrugged and leaned down for a kiss. I'll survive. Just promise me you won't shut me out. I know it's difficult for you to open up about what goes on in that pretty head of yours, and I'm not going to force you, but just remember you can talk to me. About anything. Smiling for a real this time, Matsun reached up to caress Maki's cheek, his heart fluttering. Just how lucky he got with meeting Maki, he had no idea. You'll be the first one to know, I promise. Thank you for sticking around. I know it must be getting annoying sometimes. It's not. You are scared and can't help it. That's fine. Besides, I'm first and foremost your friend. Of course I'll stick around. Now stop overthinking and tell me if this job sounds good. Matsun chuckled and shifted so he could see on the laptop screen. Let's see then. It was already dark when Hayato finally finished his daily exercise. The movement of his legs was getting better each day, and even though he couldn't go anywhere near volleyball yet, he was happy with his progress. At least he could now walk around without relying on the crutches all the time. The only thing worrying him these days was Taichi's still very much present self-deprecating mindset and occasional slip into blaming himself for everything bad happening, including Hayato's injury. Just 2 days ago, Hayato found him curled on the bathroom floor crying in the middle of the night after yet another breakdown. It took him another almost hour to calm him down enough to take him back to bed and lull him to sleep. It couldn't continue like this. It was breaking his heart seeing his beloved like that, but no matter how long he spent thinking about some possible solution, he couldn't figure out anything else than constantly remind him just how loved he was. Alas, that seemed to only work short term and brought problems of its own. Sighing, he glanced over at the door to the office turned study room, the light coming from under it telling him Taichi was still buried in his textbooks. He should take a break. He's been there for hours already. It's not going to end well if he overworks himself again. He got up from the mat with a quiet grunt, hissing when his knee bent in a wrong angle. Nowhere near full recovery yet, I see. He shook his head, chasing the thought away. That wasn't something he would let stop him from getting back on the court. He was already reaching to knock on the door when a phone rang from the inside, the sound making him pause. Oh, Tai, really? Are you really that worried you would miss me calling for you that you leave your phone on during studying now?
His brows knitted together when he heard Taichi accepting the call. Do you need anything?
Hayato bit his lip, already half turned to leave since he didn't want to eavesdrop on other people's conversation, but something kept him in place. Perhaps instinct, or perhaps the weird strain in Taichi's voice when he spoke.
No, I haven't finished yet. I told you I took a year off to... You've already told me that multiple times. I'm not coming. Because I don't... No, I have no reason to. Remember? You told me to get lost.
Hayato frowned. To an untrained ear, Taichi might sound normal, but he had spent enough time by his side to recognize the tiny tremble in his voice, which only meant one thing. Oh, not on my watch. He gritted his teeth and barged inside, startling Taichi so much he almost fell from the chair.
Haya, what are you...
He didn't answer and grabbed the phone out of Taichi's hand, taking note of his cold, pale skin and trembling fingers, which only confirmed his suspicion. Stop harassing him, you prick!
Who are you to talk to me like that?
Give the phone back to the disappointment called my son and don't stick your nose into things that don't concern you. It does concern me, whether you like it or not. You are treating my boyfriend like shit, and I'm not going to let that keep happening.
Haya, please.
So he's still dragging along with you? That's why he skipped a year in college, isn't it? I told him you are a bad influence on him. He should have dumped you years ago.
Taichi paled even more, and Hayato snarled. Still, he took care to only gently squeeze Taichi's shoulder before taking a deep breath.
The only bad influence on Taichi is you and all those shitty ideals of yours. If you ever call him again to harass him like this, trust me that I'll make sure someone will take a really close look into your finances. Don't you dare to threaten me. It's not a threat, it's a promise. Maybe they won't find anything, but I bet it's going to be really annoying. Oh, you piece of...
He quickly ended the call and turned the phone off before handing it back to Taichi.
You really should block his number, you know.
Taichi just stared at him for a moment, his lips parted and eyes wide. Hayato squeezed his shoulder again and carefully slid on his lap, his heart aching over feeling him trembling under his touch when he cupped his cheeks. It's okay now. I won't let him hurt you again. Taichi let out a deep sigh, his shoulders slumping as he leaned his forehead against Hayato's chest. I'm sorry you had to hear that. I don't know why I even picked up when I knew it was going to be the same again. Hayato hummed, gently running his fingers through the soft, auburn hair. Don't worry about it. I know he's a prick. His words do nothing to me. And I won't let him get to you again. Ever. He didn't know much about Kawanishi family, but he heard enough to know how much pain Taichi's father caused him. They never talked about it, but Hayato could feel it whenever Taichi heard someone mention his family. And Hayato hated them to the core. He caressed Taichi's cheeks again, instead focusing on the only member of the family who was worth something and deserved the world. Say, how about we go on a nice long walk tomorrow? We can stop at that ramen place you like too. Taichi let out a strangled chuckle, wrapping his arms around Hayato's waist. I would love that. Hayato grinned. Great. Now, I order you to take a break from studying and cuddle me. I haven't seen you for hours and I'm touch-starved. You can't be touch-starved just because of a few hours.
Of course I can. Just look at me how touch-starved I am.
He became serious again, leaning in for a kiss. I love you, okay? No matter what your so-called father says. I love you for who you are, and I'm proud of you. But...
No buts. I didn't give you the ring just for decoration. I will marry you as soon as it's possible, and no one but you can stop me.
Taichi blinked, his eyes glossing over. I won't stop you.
Good. Now, cuddles.
Hajime, could you stop with all the paperwork for a while? I'm lonely. Iwaizumi raised his eyebrows, measuring him with a dubious look.
How can you be lonely? I'm right here.
Oikawa whined and rolled over on the couch, putting on his best puppy eyes. But that's too far. I need you here, with me.
Yeah, get into the line. These papers need me too.
With that, he returned to reading. Oikawa huffed and flopped on his back, staring up into the ceiling. He understood Iwaizumi had to work right now. Because of his injury, he missed a lot of days and now had to catch up in any way he could. It was fine, really. He would gladly help his boyfriend if only he understood half of the terms used in the text, and he held himself back for quite a long time, the whole of 3 days. But enough was enough, and he needed some attention as soon as possible. Come on, Hajime, can't you take a break? Just a few minutes. I promise I will let you work after that. Sighing, Iwaizumi put the paper down. Toru, we both know that's not how it would go. You know I would love to give you all my attention, but right now I really can't. Please.
I can't.
Pretty please.
Making the piece pretty won't help you. Look, the sooner I'm done with this, the sooner I can give you attention. Let me finish this, and then I'll take you out. What do you say?
Oikawa pursed his lips, but nodded. Alright. But you promise, right?
Yes, I promise.
Oikawa grinned and closed his eyes, content. Of course, he would prefer if he got a hug or 10 right now, but the premise of a date was nice too. He continued to listen to the soft rustling of papers and Iwaizumi's soft grumbling, letting it slowly lull him into sleep. He would put earphones on, but he was worried he might miss Iwaizumi's call if something happened. He didn't want that. A part of him was still worried about Iwaizumi's spine. The doctor said the fracture was now healed and shouldn't cause any further problems if Iwaizumi didn't push himself too much, but Oikawa didn't want to leave anything to chance. All it took was one piece of bone pushed a bit further, and Iwaizumi could end up paralyzed. He shuddered. It's fine, he's alright. No paralysis, he's healthy and strong as ever. No need to worry. But knowing that wasn't enough to quiet that tiny but persistent part of his mind, warning him to keep distance and not be as clingy as before. One wrong move, and all healing and recovery could be in vain. And yet, he still came up with a challenge that required him to be clingy. Maybe I should stop with challenges for a while.
I can hear you thinking all the way here.
Oikawa chuckled and turned on his stomach again. Of course Iwaizumi knew he was worried. He had a sixth sense for that. It's nothing. I want to do something, but I'm not sure if it won't make things worse. Iwaizumi tilted his head, curious.
What things?
You know, your spine and stuff.
My spine is alright. You heard the doctor. I can function without restriction unless I overdo it.
He leaned his chin on his palm.
So what's this about?
Oikawa took a deep breath and got up, hesitantly pushing Iwaizumi to lean back in the chair.
Toru?
I came up with a challenge. I thought it was a good idea and it seemed quite sweet and cute, but now that I think about it, it might not be the best idea for you.
Toru, what challenge? If it's not dangerous but sweet, then there is nothing wrong with it, no? So what's the matter? What's the challenge about?
Oikawa bit his lip,
shuffling his foot on the floor.
Promise you won't get mad?
Toru.
Okay, fine. Just try not to move too much. He carefully settled on Iwaizumi's lap, trying not to put too much weight on one spot or move in a weird way.
Iwaizumi furrowed his brow. That's the challenge?
Yeah? I just wanted some attention from you, but you're always busy these days, so I thought it could be fun to make it into a challenge.
And why are you overthinking it so much? It's nothing horrible, just...
He hissed in pain, and Oikawa immediately jumped up, backing away. That's why. I'm sorry, I didn't want this. Are you hurt? Do you need help? I'm calling the doctor. Don't move, A hand closed firmly around his wrist and pulled him back. He stumbled, losing his balance and falling on Iwaizumi's lap again.
Stop fretting so much. It's nothing, just weak muscles around the bone. It will get better with time.
But what if I made it worse? You shouldn't be in pain at all if it's fine.
Toru, I'm not made of glass. I can manage a bit of pain.
It's not just a bit of pain. You could have been paralyzed. You got lucky, but what if it didn't heal properly? What if there are still some pieces moving around and I just made it worse? What if...
He got silenced by Iwaizumi's lips on his own, only parting when the initial freeze went away. Stop worrying so much. The doctors know what they're talking about. You won't make anything worse just by hugging me or sitting on my lap.
But...
Nope, don't you dare to say that. Don't think I didn't notice how you hold back with everything. I'm grateful you aren't talking hole into my head as often as before, but you don't have to pull away so much. If you want a hug, tell me. You know I won't shove you away. And I promise I'll tell you if something hurts.
Oikawa blinked, unsure what to say. He hesitantly wrapped his arms around Iwaizumi, feeling as if some giant weight fell from his shoulders when Iwaizumi returned the hug. Still, he tried to hold back from squeezing too hard, worried he might do more damage.
Toru.
Sorry. And then he couldn't hold back anymore. He tightened his embrace, hiding his face in the crook of Iwaizumi's neck, biting his lip to stop it from quivering.
See? All's good. Nothing to worry about.
I'm sorry.
No need to. Love you.
Love you too.